Hi, everybody. Back again. We've been discussing some experiences with our child at Eastside Elementary. We've covered kindergarten, grade one, and we're about to share grade two with some um, situations that we've had at his school.
So Friday, September the 6th, first day of grade two, complaining of a bellyache when he was eating his breakfast. So a little bit of nerves to start off the school year. Thursday, September 26th, Calvin told me that a couple of the kids were picking on him during outside play at school. One of the boys was pulling on his leg and then whacked him on the head with a hoodie, and it was the zipper part of the hoodie that was hitting him. Sunday, October the 6th, Calvin told us that the same boy had whispered in his ear at school Friday, "You're a piece of..."
Beginning with an S and ending with a T, four-letter word.
Twice, and then tripped him up in the classroom, in the lunchroom. Monday, October the 7th, I talked to Calvin's teacher about it, and she said she'd keep an eye on things. Tuesday, October the 15th, problem with another boy in his class. Calvin had made a Connect spider, and this boy had broken the leg off while Calvin was holding on to it. Friday, November the 15th, Calvin's teacher called at about 1 o'clock saying Calvin wanted to throw out his EpiPens. So the teacher had told him that it was okay to leave them on her desk while he was in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, December the 5th, Calvin told Daddy that the boys in his class told him the teacher was coming and then laughed at him. Thursday, December the 12th, the school called at about 11:30 saying the class was going to the Arts and Culture Center to practice for their Christmas concert, and they were being bused. Calvin hasn't taken the bus since he started school, since they do not provide the same 5-point harness that he has in our vehicle when we're driving. We don't feel it's in his best interest. It's not safe for him to be on the school bus, and the school has been aware of that since day one in kindergarten.
If I can jump in, I apologize. The standard has to be the same all across. If you're going to have your child in a bus with a bunch of other kids, it's something as simple as the driver running up on a curb. That the suspension is so tight in these things that people are going to get thrown. They're going to get bounced around. So if you don't have your lap strap and your over the shoulder strap on, you could stand for a pretty decent injury. And we've seen it on videos before where they've had cameras on these buses that it is atrocious, the amount of damage that can be inflicted on a person, especially more so with a child. It's completely unacceptable. I don't see how other parents don't, they're crossing their fingers and they're holding their breath because, or maybe they have more than one kid and then they're not really that concerned about, all of them. Oh, well, we still got a couple more. So, but I mean, I'm going on. That's not the attitude to have. You love your children and you definitely don't want to see any type of negligence where somebody is going to get hurt, and somebody will get hurt eventually. So, once again, this continuity of care, what they provide and what they like for us to accept as parents is, some parent standards are a little different than others, and there's just absolutely no way they're going to be going onto a bus without a safety strap of some sort over the shoulder and across the lap. I apologize for the interruption. I had to get that in there.
So Wednesday, January 29th, one of the boys told Calvin to bring a knife to school, then changed the story to say that he told him to bring a pen to stab with.
Yeah.
Thursday, January 30th, the school called about 1:40 in the afternoon. Calvin wasn't feeling well. His face was warm and everywhere else was cold, so of course I went and picked him up. And when I picked him up, he told me he was feeling weak and sleepy. So we've got multiple days following where he wasn't feeling well, didn't go to school. There was about a week there that he didn't want to go to school at all. So then we go Thursday, February 13th, 12:35. The school called. Calvin was feeling sad, so Mom went and picked him up. Calvin was upset that one of his friends didn't want to sit with him in the cafeteria for lunch.
You know, I'm going to interrupt again. So, you know, this bullying thing, this is the zero tolerance policy that Eastside Elementary has, and I'm sure it's other schools too. That, well, you know, they have to explore and see just how their social skills are developing. Well, when you're being bullied, when you're being threatened, when you're being physically hurt, when you're let walk away from a school and the person who's supposed to be looking after you is too busy talking to a copper, this is complete negligence. You guys got to step up your game. If you expect any parent, any loving parent, you know, they want the best for their kids, and to let them go to a school that's behaving like this, you know, some people might say I'm being a little bit rough, but you endure what some of these kids have to go through. You're sure you're gonna geez, that's just what happens. You know, you have to figure it out. Nobody really means to hurt you. Well, you tell that to a kid that's got tears coming out of his eyes and he's being hurt. This bullying thing, it's sad. It's sad.
Which leads to the next incident on Wednesday, March the 4th. Calvin had a bump and a scratch on his head. He says he hit his head on the table at school, but wouldn't say how it happened. The following morning, before school, he told us that they were inside for recess, and one of the boys who had been picking on him before had pushed him hard enough that Calvin went forward and banged his head on the table. So when I took him to school that morning, I spoke to the teacher, and it was actually a substitute teacher who had been there the day before and who was still there that day. And she had advised that I should talk to Mr. Matthews, the principal. So Mr. Matthews had said he would talk to the kids in the class and then decide on consequences for this kid. So then after school, Calvin also told Mr. Matthews what had happened and that this was not the first time there's been problems with that particular boy and a couple of other boys in the class. So he was going to email the teacher, Calvin's regular class teacher. And that is when the next incident, it's actually Monday, March the 16th, the school was then closed until further notice due to the COVID-19 virus.
As much as our child loves school, couldn't talk about enough about his teachers. He couldn't talk about enough about his new classmates, most of them. Give everyone a chance, but as you can see, some abuse it, and then it's not as good as it was made out to be. To blame, well, you know what? It's mostly the parent. It's what you let your child do. Some of these shows, some of these movies, the way your neighborhood is, older brothers, older sisters, and it trickles down. But if you're going to isolate these, instead of addressing it as a whole, and what I mean by that is that the whole school, if an incident happens and somebody gets hurt, regardless if it's in the classroom or in the school, if it was addressed in a manner that it was exposed and it doesn't come back on the part where, oh, well, this one told on that one. No, if somebody is being assaulted, if somebody is being abused, if somebody is being hurt physically, if somebody is being violently attacked verbally, then there's big problems that you guys aren't dealing with. Sure, anybody can say that they have a zero tolerance policy, but if you're not going to enforce it and actually progress, with that zero tolerance policy, then maybe something else needs to be implicated, and maybe that might be home teaching, pod learning. We certainly don't need that for other children. It's quite offensive, and it's simply not going to be tolerated. So if this is the kind of care that our son's school, Eastside Elementary, if this is the type of care that you guys are going to use as the approach with the COVID-19, you guys got much more on your plate that you'll ever know what to deal with. If that's the kind of attitude that you're going to have. Now, ask for people that you want to get everybody involved as a community, which you should in the beginning, because the trust, we don't have any. We'd like to. Mr. Matthews, you're a wonderful principal. I'm sure you deserve every little bit of your salary that you're getting. But when I've discussed a few times with you while waiting for Calvin to come out after school, and the only thing that you could possibly think about to talk to was the burning of the ballots in Sally's Cove, then listen up, old buddy. I know how corrupt the frickin' government is. Yeah? I don't need no history lesson. Perhaps I can give you one or two. So your colleagues, now, some of your teachers, they're fantastic. Calvin, there's not enough praise that our son couldn't give to the three teachers he had. Now there's a couple of substitutes and there's other teachers in there that I know I wouldn't want any part of. But I mean, you're not going to get along with everybody anyway. That still doesn't mean you can't be in a safe, healthy environment. So, well, we'll see how the virtual conference goes tomorrow. And having said that, we'd like to go, before we end off here, we got a notice that came home, the school gave us regarding the amount of attendance that our son has been missing. And these are the reasons why. When a child is finding it tough to deal with, I mean, everything is beautiful. Everything is beautiful in life. If you're in a dysfunctional family, I mean, we have our dysfunction from time to time. There's no doubt about that. But as a whole, as a profession in school, if you can't see that there's problems going on and it's not affecting a child coming home when he don't understand why some of the kids are acting the way they are towards him, and he's not the only one being picked on. Now, other parents, if they'd like to, if they get a chance to see this video and have some input for us, that's fine. Do we need counseling? We have counseling as a whole, as a family, every time we need it. And even if we don't need it, we set aside time that, what can we do better with? How could we make this a little more easier? How could we address this a little more proficient, that we're going to be able to understand what everyone's needs and wants, and just as a whole, you need to be in harmony. And if we can't provide that, then we need to do something on our own, as a pod learning, as homeschooling. It's difficult to deal with when you see the loved ones of your heart being treated this way. So I'd like that. Like the wheelchair ramp. Now it was sitting there just waiting for somebody to go near it so that the seat and the arm could come down. It's made of steel. It's made to carry a wheelchair with a person on it, up over the stairs. So these moving parts, they are seriously heavy. And once they start swinging, they're going to come down and they're going to clunk hard enough that they're going to cause injury. And he said, well, it's not my fault. You know what? For the sake of a safety strap and a frickin' sign, or to get your caretaker to push it up over the stairs until somebody can come and actually fix it for you, then yeah, well, it is what it is now, isn't it? You guys have a great evening. I ranted enough. I'm sure we'll get back to this again. Everyone, have a great evening, and wish you all the well.